how do you become a prostitute? How does that happen? You know, well, let me say that nobody wakes up in the morning and says, that's what I'm going to do. Nobody does. Absolutely nobody.
Yvonne Rivadeneyra never planned on becoming a prostitute, but a cycle of abuse forced her down a path of self-destruction. As a child, she was molested by her grandfather.
It happened to my mom and her sister, then me and my sister, both paternal grandfathers.
At age 11, she was assaulted by a neighborhood friend.
I had a pair of round corduroy overalls on, and he had ripped my buttons off, and I had to zip up the back that was coming off.
As a teenager, she numbed the pain with alcohol.
We'd just go to the party and we'd throw our brains out, you know, throw up, and we'd party. I didn't want to feel afraid. I didn't want to feel that there was no place safe.
Soon, Yvonne was out of control. She dropped out of high school and spent her days smoking pot and drinking until she blacked out. Eventually, she got pregnant and married her boyfriend, Greg. They had another child, but even having a family couldn't heal the pain of her childhood. Yvonne's next-door neighbor introduced her to speed.
I was up for days instead, and it was more horrific, but for me, I wasn't blacking out anymore.
She began selling drugs to support her habit.
I do everything in abundance. It was no different when I was using. I was a grand user. I did it in abundance, and I thought if we sell it, then I could do more for free, and the speed is really what pushed me over the edge.
Consuming more than she could sell, Yvonne used their rent money for drugs.
We ended up homeless with the 2 children. I could not support my habit and afford to pay rent.
They began living at a local campground. Here, the cycle of abuse from her childhood haunted her once again.
My children were sexually abused. I didn't watch my children. I didn't even watch myself.
Her husband decided to provide a better life for his family, so he joined the military. While he was away, Yvonne rented a room for her and the kids. Here, she was introduced to cocaine. Eventually, she was arrested for possession. She knew she couldn't care for her children any longer, so Yvonne took them to her mother.
I gave them the kids to my mom, and I walked away. At that point was the point that I tried to destroy myself.
A few weeks later, Greg returned from boot camp and regained custody of the children. Yvonne completed drug rehab and returned to her family. She was sober for a while, but soon returned to her addictive lifestyle. One morning, after dropping her children off at school, she was solicited for sex. She needed money for drugs, so she got in the car and the man drove to her home.
It's a very quick situation, gave me the money and he left. That was the beginning of prostituting while I lived in the same house with my husband and the children. It's what I did during the day.
Soon, she was arrested again, this time for solicitation. Her husband finally gave her an ultimatum: the family or the drugs. She chose the drugs, and he took the kids and left. The next few years, she lived and worked on the streets. Soon, she fell in love, and for a while, she was happy.
And he really helped me like myself again.
But her boyfriend's cocaine addiction left him bankrupt, and Yvonne was back on the street, alone again. Homeless, pregnant, and diagnosed with hepatitis C, Yvonne had lost all hope. One afternoon, as she was sitting on a street corner, she had an encounter with God.
I knew that something was happening as I was sitting there. All of a sudden, I had a fear of the Lord. I thought I had ruined so many people's lives and I was just like, oh my God. What have I done? What am I? I've done so many bad things. Help me.
Yvonne dedicated her life to the Lord and was instantly delivered from drugs and alcohol. She entered a Christian crisis pregnancy home and began studying the Bible. Yvonne's mother saw the change in her daughter and invited her to a family Christmas party. There, she saw her children for the first time in 4 years.
I was so humbled, and I was afraid because I didn't want to ruin anything for them. And I knew the chance that I was taking coming home, and I knew I could hurt them. All of a sudden, I had understanding of what I could do wrong.
Greg had also become a Christian and had been praying for her.
My mom would tell him, you know, she's gone, Greg. She's not coming back. And he would say, you don't know the God that I serve. She's coming back. God's gonna bring her back. He prayed for me for 4 years, and he waited for me. He didn't date or anything, he waited for me.
She was reunited with her family and drug-free, but Yvonne's battles were far from over.
I had felonies, I had jump bail, I had aliases. I mean, I was in trouble.
She decided to face the consequences and turn herself in. On the day of her hearing, Yvonne confessed all her crimes to the court. The judge was sympathetic. Her brother was also a recovering addict.
She says, you know, Yvonne, because of my brother, I want you to just go and be free and start over. And she dropped every charge.
Since then, Yvonne and Greg have moved to Maryland and added one more child to their family.
God is the only one that can fit in that part in us that was created by him for him. When I found the right piece to my life's puzzle, it's perfection.